Now, this particular image is quite unusual. Again, if we look at the histogram, it would suggest that it's underexposed. Okay, we've got a long tail here, we can see, which would relate to these highlights here. The histogram would tell us to increase exposure. Yeah, we should move that to the right, and then we should bring back the highlights and the whites. Okay, but what we end up with is a very washed out picture, and indeed it's not what I foresaw in the field. So it's important to include your pre-visualization when addressing the image, when we're moving the sliders around, when we're looking at the histogram. So even though this particular image is ostensibly underexposed, what I foresaw, and what I saw at the time, by the way, was a background that was much darker. Okay, and we're going to bring down the highlights a little bit as well. Okay, we can maybe bring those up like that, bring down the exposure. So what we've ended up doing actually is moving the whole histogram even further to the left. We can lift the whites ever so slightly to bring extra glow into the highlight area here, and we could just bring that down just a touch, and that is what I saw, this shaft of light illuminating this tree perched on the top of this rock in Yellow Mountain. Okay, now the background's very blue as well, so I might also be moved to just warm it up ever so slightly. In warming it, I'm increasing the exposure, so I'm going to have to bring that back again. Now in Photoshop I would get rid of these highlights over here, obviously, because they distract. Let's just move that back. And the other thing we might want to consider, because we're talking about luminance, is to bring the luminosity of the yellows down. So these are very bright, so bright they glow and almost make the tree look soft. So I'm just going to bring that down just a little bit like that, and maybe a little bit of the greens. We can now go back up to our basic slider, and we could probably release the reduction in highlights a little bit, and there we go. So this is a very different histogram, a very different approach to the images we've done before. So a histogram may tell you a story, but your pre-visualization of that image is the thing that should prevail.